Hey, everybody, welcome back to another fantastic edition of the His and Her Money Show, where we make it our business to help you take dominion over your money and your life. Thank you for tuning in, because you could be tuned into a lot of places, but the fact that you're here rocking with the His and Her Money Show, we want you to know that we're grateful to have your eyes and ears here with us. Do us a favor if you have not already done so. I know there's over 1,000 reviews, but if you haven't put yours in, I need you to put your review on your favorite podcast app and let folks know that the His and Her Money Show is a show that they need to tune in, because at the end of the day, family, the only reason we do this is to help as many people as we possibly can get this information so that they can apply it to their lives and take dominion as well. So if you want to help us help them, just leave us a review. It only takes a few seconds. Thank you in advance. You guys, listen, we love talking about the management side of money. We do a little family talks here. We do a little personal development here. One of our favorite things to hit on is the building, the creation, the enhancing of wealth. We want you guys not to just be getting by. We don't want you to just be doing better. We want you to be wealthy. We want you to be thinking legacy. We want you to think beyond yourself. And today's episode is going to help you do just that. We have a very special guest, somebody we've been watching for a long time, do a lot of positive things in the community, help a lot of people build wealth, help a lot of people change their paradigms around money. And so we were super glad to finally be able to connect and get him on the show. We're going to be talking with none other than Jullien Gordon. He has been a force to be reckoned with when it comes to real estate investment and helping people understand it and execute it. And we want you to be next. We want you to start thinking in this direction too. That's why we got Jullien on. So as we always tell you, get some pen, paper, or open up your notes app on your iPad or whatever device you got, because we don't do these shows for entertainment. We do it so you can be equipped to go out and execute. So let me go get Jullien so we can hear his great advice on this matter. Hey, Jullien, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
What's going on? So happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Man, we're glad to have you here. As I mentioned in the intro, we've been watching from a distance all the positive work that you've been doing over the years, and we were finally able to make this connection a reality for us to talk to you ourselves and glean from your wisdom and your knowledge, and help our audience grow in this area. For some people, they're being introduced to you for the first time, though, right here and right now. So for them, can you say hello and then just kind of let them know a little bit about what you're all about?
Yeah, what I'm all about is first and foremost, I'm a child of God. That's first and foremost. That's my highest identity, and that's where it all begins. And then from there, as I walk in my God-given purpose, I am a real estate investor. I'm a real estate educator, and I'm a real estate developer. So as an investor, I have my own portfolio of 40 doors across the country in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Oakland, California, Atlanta, and Brooklyn, New York. I bought my first triplex in Brooklyn, New York in May of 2013. That got me to rent and mortgage freedom, and I've not had a housing expense since that moment in time. As I was building my own portfolio, people started asking me how I was doing it, and then that led to me educating others on it, and that led to the creation of the multifamily movement, where I've helped 435 people close on multifamily homes all across the country. Together, that's about $150 million worth of real estate that my students have acquired. And then I'm also a real estate developer. I helped co-found the Buyback Baton Rouge Fund in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where we're developing over 100 multifamily units. And I'm also the lead investor in 4 other Black real estate developments across the country. So that is my work. That is the physical real estate. But in addition to that, I'm also focused on the mental real estate that is up here in between these two temples. And so about 2 years ago, I wrote the book Rich and Righteous, The Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money, Manifestation in Your Mind, because that's where I found that it really all begins, recognizing first and foremost that you are a child of God. And once you accept and know that abundance is your birthright. And when you are able to move through the world with those two identities at your core, then it shapes the way you manifest and create and multiply money in this experience that we call life.
Nice. Now this, you caught my attention when you said I ain't had a housing expense since 2013. Now we paid off our house. We just did that as a personal, on a personal financial side.
Yeah.
This is 4 years now without housing, without a mortgage, but you did it through the purview of investing.
Correct.
So you invested your way to not having a housing expense. But let's go back to the 2013, man. I want to go back. We see you, you doing your thing now, 150 millions over here and buying back a whole city in Baton Rouge. Okay, all right, but let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back to the
2013.
beginning.
Um, what made you even consider multifamily real estate as a means, or was it in your mind as a means to build wealth?
Yeah, so my first taste of real estate was actually a sour one, and it was actually seeing my mom lose her single family home in Oakland, California. My mother was a doctor; she was an anesthesiologist, so she had the great active income that the American dream promotes. She had checked off all the boxes, done everything that she was supposed to: be good, get good grades, go to good school, get a good job, etc. But what they don't tell you in that part of the American dream is that one thing can derail you when you have one stream of income. And so she ended up dealing with some mental health issues that led to alcoholism. And I saw her lose her income, her license, her income, and then therefore the house. And so today that house is worth $1.8 million, the house that I grew up in. I'm her only child, and it will not be passed down to the next generation as a result of only having one stream of income. So that immediately let me know that in some cases, if you're not careful, the single family home can be a trap, and it actually doesn't get you to the American dream. And so in college, I stumbled across the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which occurred for many of us. And that opened me up into real estate investing. And from there, I knew that multifamily real estate would be the first type of home that I bought. Now, I read that book in the early 2000s, and I wasn't able to actually execute on it until May of 2013 when I closed on my first property in Brooklyn, New York. When I did that, I went from paying expensive rent in Brooklyn to being paid expensive rent in Brooklyn with one single move. There's no other financial move that is more powerful than acquiring multifamily real estate, because not only do you get rid of your biggest expense in life, which is rent, right? But you also are now cash flowing, meaning that that house is paying you. You get the tax benefits from it, you get the appreciation from it, and you get the principal pay down, all because of you did one thing. Now, there's only three ways to get rid of your housing expense forever, and that is to live in a tent, go to jail, or buy multifamily real estate. And what I mean by that is that even after you've paid off your single family mortgage, which you have all done, you still have property taxes, you still have insurance, and as that house ages, you still have maintenance. So even with a single family home, you still have expenses that are coming out of your pocket. So a lot of people have thought that a single family home is the pathway to the American dream, but little do they know is that when you account for all the interest that you're paying to the bank, the principal, the taxes, the insurance, right, the repairs, etc., some people who bought single family homes have a greater housing expense than people who are renting the same square footage across the street. And so I knew that multifamily real estate would get rid of the biggest expense in my life, which was housing, bigger than your kids, bigger than taxes, bigger than student loans. And if you just do that one single thing, get rid of your housing expense for the rest of your life, that immediately will put you on a pathway to financial freedom.
Nice. Now, I'm curious because you said something that triggered me. Our first foray, because
I'm not trying to
we've
trigger nobody.
attempted.
I'm not trying to trigger nobody.
No, you brought back a painful memory, Jullien. It's too late now. So our first foray into investing into real
Mhm.
estate was a sour one. We bought,
Mm.
HGTV was going crazy. It was 2007.
Yep.
Everybody's flipping. So we said, let's go for it. We're a year into our marriage,
Hmm.
and ambitious and wanting to just go for whatever we can before kids come. And we bought a house. We renovated the house. We put the house on the market just in time for the 2008 crash. We ain't know that.
Hmm.
But we had that house in our young marriage for an extra year. So we had two mortgages, two tax bills,
Hmm.
two sets of utility bills, and it just scarred us, bro. I
Yeah.
just keep it all the way real. It scarred us and scarred my wife more because she's super conservative and I'm the risk
Hmm.
taker. And so
Hmm.
that was my idea to take this risk, and it didn't work. And so we've gotten through it, right? We know we need to go after real estate. We know that it's the one of the number one economic drivers of wealth. We know all the people on the Forbes list got real estate. We know all these things, Jullien, but sometimes you have these, you talked earlier about mental real estate. And so sometimes you have these things in your mind of, can it be true for me? I know Jullien helped other people get 150 million. What about me? Like, do I have what it takes? And am I going to have to get 3 a.m. phone calls to fix toys? Like, we'll come up with, I know that's not true, Jullien, but we'll come up with all these thoughts that'll stop us from even trying. How do we push through the thoughts, the preventative thoughts, to even get to the point of execution?
Yeah, so it really comes back to what I said, recognizing that you're a child of God, that abundance is your birthright. Because if we don't work with the mind first, we have this big wave of financial literacy, your podcast, many other podcast shows, and things of that nature, and the information is out there. But we're still not seeing a close in the wealth gap because financial literacy is actually the second step. The first step is actually financial spirituality, right? So financial literacy focuses on the how. Here's how to do this. Here's how to buy real estate. Here's how to invest in stocks. Here's how to get a life insurance policy. That's all the tactical information, right? But financial spirituality is about the who. It's about who you are and standing in that identity first. So you actually change somebody's being first. Their being changes their doing, and their doing changes what they ultimately have. And so I think we've skipped a step, and we also have many religious hangups about money and wealth. A lot of people think that money is the root of all evil. That's not what the scripture says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And so we have to change our relationship with money. We all know that we want more money, but the question is, do you actually know what money wants? If you actually knew what money wanted, then you could actually become more attractive to money. But we never asked that question. And so we have to change our relationship to money and know that because we are good spirited people, because we are righteous people, we actually deserve more money because we know that we would do more good if we had more money. We've been conditioned to believe that poverty is noble, and that poverty is something that is of God, and it's not. Everything else that God creates is 100% abundance. Just go look at a tree. How many seeds are inside a fruit, right? It's all abundance. But for some reason or somehow we've got programmed to believe that money is not good, and that poverty is good, and therefore we've actually started moving in that way. And so I'm here to teach the righteous how to be rich, how to use this stored energy, this inert spiritual substance that we call money, to actually do more good and do more God in this world. And so that's what my focus is. And I know that it starts at the mental level in the temple that is up here first, before we get into the how to, before we get into choosing asset classes and things of that nature that we're going to master.
So you asked a question, and I know everybody's going to be mad if I don't get the answer from the question that you asked, Jullien. So what does money want?
What does money want? Money wants to be circulated. Money does not want to be accumulated. Money does not want to sit in a savings account only earning 0.03% interest. It wants to be converted into ideals, ideas, individuals, investments, or institutions that are doing good or God's work. Okay. We've been taught to save money, right? But in your Bank of America savings account at a 0.03% interest rate, using the rule of 72, 72 divided by 0.03 means that it will take you 2,400 years to double your money in a Bank of America savings account. Money does not want to sit. It does not want to be lazy. It's called currency. Why? Because it's supposed to have a current. It's supposed to be in motion. But we've been conditioned and programmed to save money. So what people don't realize is that you are a bank already. Excuse me. You are a bank. Okay. But it's big bank, take little bank. You're lending your money to the bank at 0.03% interest. And then they're lending it back to you, your very own money. They're multiplying it by 10 using the money multiplier first. And then they're lending it back to you at a 6% interest rate. So they're getting what I think that's 200%, or is that 200 or 2,000% return on your money, because you don't understand the power of your ability to actually invest that money directly into yourself and to make it work and have a higher yield than 0.03% interest. So money wants to circulate, not accumulate. Right. And it wants to be used to manifest things, not just to sit there as money. It wants to be converted and transmuted into, I said again, ideals, ideas, investments, individuals, and institutions that are doing good or God's work. And so once you understand that, then what's up?
I love that. I love that. The preacher in me like all them eyes, man. I appreciate that. Continue. Let me not get in the way.
Come on, man. You got to make it consumable for people.
I love it, man. Now, I read all the Rich Dad Poor Dad books too, and I know that his journey started with a condo. So why, in your mind, back then and even today, is multifamily style real estate the way to go?
Yeah, because multifamily real estate is actually recession proof. So right now, rents are going up. Many of your listeners who are paying rent right now, their rents have gone up in the past 12 to 18 months, and they can't do anything about it. What are you going to do? Move to another expensive place? Move from the frying pan to the fire? right? So it's recession proof. Whereas single family real estate will fluctuate with the economy, stocks will fluctuate with the economy. Multifamily real estate, it holds its value, it continues to appreciate, and the business model improves because rents go up in the midst of a recession. Why do rents go up in the midst of a recession? It's not because your landlord hates you. There are slumlords out there, but it's not because your landlord hates you. It's because those who are looking to buy single family homes end up holding off, right? Then those who get foreclosed on then become renters. So now the demand for rental units goes up, but the supply of rental units has not changed. And any time in any economy, right, where demand goes up but supply does not change, what happens to price? Price goes up. And so multifamily real estate, what I say is that real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. And that's what HGTV will show you sometimes. When people are in my program, I tell them they cannot watch HGTV. They can only watch JGTV, because HGTV will literally tell you to do the opposite of what I'm telling you to do. They'll have you focus on granite countertops. I'm sure you put granite countertops into that single family home. Guess what? Granite countertops are not that expensive, right? They're $1,500 for a granite countertop with an undermount sink. They have you focused on the stainless steel appliances. It's $1,500 for a stainless steel refrigerator. But why would you make a $400,000 purchase decision based on a detachable $1,500 appliance? So HGTV has you looking at the aesthetics, right, and the beauty of a property. But what we actually want to look at is the business and the asset that it is. When you're buying multifamily real estate, you're buying a business. And what's so powerful about it is the amount of leverage that you can get. It's the only asset that you can acquire with as much leverage as the average American. So there are 3.5% down programs like the government's FHA program. So what that means is that on a $300,000 property, you only have to put $10,500 down to acquire a $300,000 property. No other business can you buy where you are only putting $10,500 down, getting a loan for the other $289,000 within 30 to 45 days, and have that business immediately cash flow right out the gates with little time, effort, or experience. There's no other business that you can buy right now as the average American and do that. So this is why multifamily real estate is so powerful. And I said the 3.5% down, but there's also 0% down programs out there as well when you know where to look. And so this is the power of multifamily real estate, is the amount of leverage that it gives you and the fact that it creates immediate streams of passive income for you. The only way to become financially free is not debt freedom. A lot of people believe that being debt free is financially free. It is not, because all of your income is still active income. But with multifamily real estate, if you acquire a fourplex, you can, with multifamily real estate as a first-time buyer, if you acquire a duplex, triplex, or a fourplex, also known as a 2-family, 3-family, or 4-family, you can use the government's FHA program, which is at 3.5%. Once you get to 5 units or more, that is considered commercial real estate, and that's a different lending process. But the same documentation and the same lender that you would go to buy a single-family home, you can do that with a multifamily home and literally change the financial trajectory of your life and immediately create 3 streams of passive income that actually move you closer to financial freedom. And those passive streams of income are going to be there for a long time, and you can pass them down to the next generation. You cannot pass your active streams of income or your job to the next generation, but you can pass on cash flowing assets.
Whew. All right. I'm getting interested. I want to get in the game, coach. I want to get in the
Let's go.
game.
Let's
Okay.
go.
So let's talk where we live is super residential, super single family. We're outside of the city of Chicago, but the city of Chicago itself
Correct.
is full of multifamily. So if you're in an environment where you live is not multifamily, so you got to go like to a neighboring region.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that wisdom would say to link up with an agent or someone familiar with the area. So I know you bought property here, there, and everywhere.
Correct.
So what are we looking for? How do we do? Well, let me back up. Do we evaluate the area first on our own, or are we seeking out team to help us evaluate the area? How are you coaching us through that?
That's a great question. So, the first and foremost, you want to identify a market, right? And the way you identify a market is a market is a city or a county, and then within that, you want to find a neighborhood. And in that neighborhood, you're looking for the 33 signs of gentrification. So, some of those signs are cranes in the sky. Some of them are yoga studios. Some of them are bike lanes. Some of them are new public transportation. Some of them are dumpsters, new coffee shops. You're looking for the 33 signs of gentrification. So, I bought in a neighborhood called Do or Die Bed-Stuy, right, in 2013. The
All right, home of Biggie Smalls and Jay-Z.
right, literally had the word die in. I bought in a neighborhood that has the word die in it, right? But why did I buy there? Because it had 10 to 15 signs of gentrification. I saw the wave coming from Manhattan, right, into Dumbo. Jay-Z said I could have bought a building in Dumbo for like 2 million. Today it's worth like 25 million. Guess how I'm feeling? Dumbo, right? Then that wave was coming to Fort Greene, then Clinton Hill, then Stuyvesant Heights, then to Bed-Stuy. That's where I bought. So I bought in Bed-Stuy when the wave was here. And guess what? Now I've been able to ride that wave all the way out to East New York near JFK. And now my appreciation on that property that I bought is over $400,000 because I bought where there was 10 to 15 signs of gentrification. And today, now it has 30 plus signs of gentrification. So you need to know what to look for. Now, once you identified a market in a neighborhood, then you do need an agent on the ground. But I need you to be very careful. You cannot trust this decision in the hands of a real estate agent. Most real estate agents don't own any real estate themselves. Real estate agents have been licensed to transact real estate, but that does not mean that they've mastered real estate or real estate investing. Most of them are in the business of selling single family homes to American dreamers, and most of them cannot calculate cash on cash return, which is the most important number in multifamily real estate investing. Cash on cash return is not on the real estate exam. So you actually have to lead your real estate agent, meaning that you have to get educated first. This is the biggest decision of your life, not theirs, right? They are there and they're going to get their commission. Right? You said you were doing real estate at the time of the last recession, right? All those agents who were selling the homes, they got their commissions, but where were they when it was time to foreclose? Nowhere to be found, right? So your real estate agent, you have to be more educated about the process than your real estate agent. Okay. So I have a property in Oakland, California, where I'm from, and I bought it without ever seeing it. I've never set foot in the property. I bought it in November of 2017 for $480,000. It immediately appraised at $505,000. And 27 months later, at the height of COVID, when interest rates were down at 2.65, I refinanced and it reappraised at $710,000. I've never set foot in this property, right? I knew the numbers. I knew the neighborhood, and I had an agent on the ground that I trusted to execute on the deal. But the evaluation of the deal was actually my responsibility. Right. So this is how you have to move. And just because somebody got a real estate license yesterday doesn't mean that you give over the biggest financial decision of your life, especially if they don't own any real estate themselves and they do not know how to calculate cash on cash return. So it's up to you to get educated first, right? To know how to analyze a deal. There's 23 numbers that you need to know to evaluate a real estate deal and to get to the accurate cash on cash return. Then you have to find a market, right? Which includes a city, a county, and or a neighborhood, be able to identify the 33 signs of gentrification, right? Run the numbers on specific deals until you find one that meets at least a 12% cash on cash return. And then you use that agent to actually execute on that deal and negotiate on your behalf.
So many directions I want to go now. All right. I want to back up just slightly to talk about money. How do we position ourselves? Because you talked about earlier how you consumed the content from Rich Dad Poor Dad, which sparked the idea to get into investing into real estate. But there was some time that elapsed before you were in position to do so. How do we put ourselves in position? Is there a certain place our credit needs to be? Is there a certain amount of reserves we need to build up before we can say, you know what, I think I'm ready to go out and start hunting?
Yeah, great question. So, asking those questions presumes that you are happy where you are and happy earning the money that you're earning. And so, I actually want to take it a step further back and say that the most important thing that you must do to begin this journey to financial freedom so that it is a joyful journey is get clear on your God-given purpose and then identify your highest value skill that you can actually use and sell to the marketplace, right? That is the most important thing. So there's two things. You have to find your blessing model, which is how you give to the world, right? And then you need to find your business model, which is how you receive. So your blessing model for this podcast has been giving out this information in this game and interviewing people. That's how you just freely give to the world. And then from there, you've identified business models that then allow you to receive. And as children of God, we don't receive just to fill up our own coffers. We actually receive so that we can give more. You receive so that you could both step away from your jobs. You've received so that you could have more freedom, so that you could give more. That's the difference between people who are doing work for good and for other people, as opposed to people who are just receiving for selfish reasons. And so it's really important to identify those two things. And so while you're on that journey, it's really important to keep your cost of living low. So as I was in Brooklyn, right, I kept my cost of living very low. I was living, even with my student loan payment, I had low rent and things of that nature, and I kept my cost of living at about $3,000 a month, and I was a single man at that time. And by keeping your cost of living low, it gives you the breathing room to actually explore and experiment. But some people, as they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, they start escalating their cost of living, whether that's through kids, whether that's through upgrading their car, whether that's through buying a single family home, whether that's through going on vacations. I actually had to make some sacrifices. Like, people don't know this, but I drove a 2000 Honda Accord till 2018. I had 10 multifamily doors before I had a new 4-door car, right? And so these are some of the sacrifices that I made in order to identify what is my greatest gift, and how do I give that gift sustainably to the world. That is the most important thing. And I had no clue that once I identified my blessing model, which is how I give, and my business model, which is how I receive, once I identified that, how those two things would work together and create the abundance that I've been able to have in my life. And I believe that that abundance all comes from being in alignment with my creator, and my creator knowing that when money flows to me, it flows through me. So the buck does not stop here. I don't perceive any money that I receive as mine. I receive it, and I deploy it back into human capital, physical capital, intellectual capital, social capital, in order to expand this vision that I have. Most people are only seeking to receive for themselves. And that's why, and to be honest, to sustain yourself, you don't need that much. But if you're trying to manifest a vision that is beyond you in the same way that you've done with this podcast, you actually need more economic resource. So I become a millionaire not because I wanted $1 million for myself. I become a millionaire because the vision that I have actually requires me to have $1 million in order for it to unfold. And so this is why I wrote Rich and Righteous, the Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money Manifestation in Your Mind. Is because these are the money mindsets and the beliefs that I had that allowed me first to quit my job at the bottom of the last recession. I quit my job on January 9th, 2009. That was the bottom of the last recession. But because of my abundance mindset, that's what allowed me to still thrive, even though the external environment and the external economy was saying recession, 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 as it is today. That's what the collective consciousness is talking about, recession. But I don't perceive recession as part of my reality. It may be the experience of other people and the masses, but that has not been my experience, because my beliefs about what's possible for my life is different than what I think most people think about. And so this is why I'm here, to make the righteous rich and to change our relationship to money first. And then once our relationship to money is changed, then we can start to use it in different ways than we've used it in the past.
Nice. Now, I've read and heard other real estate investors say, like, the first one is the hardest one. The first deal is the hardest deal, because you can just learn from there, you can build from there, but all that goes into that first one is of great effort and of great value. So are you able to unpack what your first deal looked like and some of the obstacles and challenges you had to jump over to get to the finish line?
Yeah, so the first deal is the greatest learning lesson, because you can only learn so much from a book. So 40 million people have bought Rich Dad Poor Dad, but 40 million people have not bought real estate. So there, as you said, there's a mental blockage that stops people from taking the information and then actually taking action. But once you've gotten that first deal, and many people perceive that financing is the biggest challenge. Financing is not the biggest challenge, right? Finding the deal is the biggest challenge, okay? Because what most people are unaware of is that when it comes to multifamily real estate, financing operates a little bit differently than it does for a single family home. So for a single family home, if you have $40,000 in W-2 income, the lender would typically qualify you for about 5 to 6 times your W-2 income. So for example, $40,000 times 5, that's $200,000, right? But when you're buying a 2-family, 3-family, or 4-family home, what most people do not know is that the lender will give you credit for 75% of the rents that you are going to collect in the next year once you take ownership of that property. And then we'll add that to your W-2 income today and qualify you based on that number. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you're buying a fourplex that has $4,000 a month in rents. Multiply that by 75%. That's $3,000 a month times 12 months. That's $36,000. So the lender will take that $36,000 and they will add it to your $40,000 of W-2 income. That's $76,000. Multiply that by 6, and now you have $452,000 that you're qualified for. So you're literally able to buy twice as much real estate because you bought a multifamily as opposed to a single family home. And most people aren't aware of that. Financing is not the hardest part. There's also programs like NACA, which are 0% down. 0% down. Okay. But if it's not in your awareness, then you think you need to save up this big wad of money before you can even get into the game. Okay. The hardest thing is finding the deal. How I found my deal in Brooklyn is I was walking to the post office to mail copies of my first book. I saw balloons, and I would always just go into open houses. Even if I didn't feel I was ready, I would just go in to learn the neighborhood. I knew I wanted to own in Brooklyn. I knew I didn't want to pay rent in Brooklyn for the rest of my life. And so I went to the post office. I came back, came to the open house, and I knew that property was mine. And what's crazy is that property that I bought shares a backyard with the property I was renting. So my office was on the second floor of this rental unit, and I'm literally looking at this property every single day out of my office window. And so I got my documents together. Most people are afraid to even go get pre-approved. They think it's going to negatively impact their credit. You can have up to 5 lenders run your credit in a 30-day period without it having a negative impact on your credit. It's okay to shop for loans, okay? Then you have to know how to make lenders compete for your business, right? People think, oh, I went to Bank of America, I went to Chase to get finance, and they think of it as this big bank. No, the only way banks make money is if they actually lend you money. So they actually need you. And so there's ways for you to make the lenders compete for your business by lowering interest rate, reducing other fees, etc. Right? Then from there, the next challenge that people perceive is that finding great tenants. I don't want some tenants to come in and not pay rent. What do you do if they don't pay rent? What if they mess up the property? You have to have a decent screening process and background checks to make sure that the people that you're bringing in are solid, or you go with Section 8. Section 8 is where the government guarantees your rental income, right? So even in the midst of COVID, 70% of my portfolio is Section 8. So I was getting paid on time and online like clockwork every single month despite COVID, right? And then the other 30% of my portfolio are people who had essential jobs like teachers, nurses, etc., right? So you have to be able to screen tenants in the proper way, right? Market and screen tenants in the proper way. And then, of course, you have your security deposit. You have your quarterly checkups on the unit to make sure that they're taking care of it and things of that nature. And so a lot of these things that people fear when it comes to owning real estate. Oh, I don't want to share walls. You're already sharing walls. You're renting an apartment right now. What do you mean you don't want to share walls? And literally with FHA, you only have to live there for 1 year. It's a 1-year living requirement. So once you live there for 1 year, you can move out, rent that unit out, and then take the cash flow from that entire building and use that to pay your single family mortgage. So it's really only a 12-month play that you have to execute. It's a 12-month sacrifice that you have to execute in order to start creating what I call regenerational wealth for your family. And so there's a lot of myths that people have. They also have the myth that I need to pay down my debt first, right? No, you do have a debt to income ratio where the lender looks at what your monthly debt payments are divided by your monthly gross income. And you have to fit within those guidelines, but your debt doesn't have to be zero before you get into the game. You have to understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. Okay. Bad debt is what most people have. Bad debt is debt that you have to pay back. That is your credit cards. That's your student loans. And that's your single family home mortgage. You have to pay that back. That's what makes it bad debt. But there is such thing as good debt where you are now borrowing money to acquire a cash flowing asset that pays back the debt and leaves you with cash flow. And so every time I buy a multifamily home, I'm taking out good debt to buy a cash flowing asset, which is multifamily real estate, the rents from that property, pay back the debt, and leave me with cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits, and principal pay down. And so these are just some of the myths and misconceptions that people have. They see 4 doors on a property and they say, oh, I can never afford that. I can't even afford a single family home. I can't even afford my rent. But it's actually easier. Listen to me. It's actually easier to buy a multifamily home than it is to buy a single family home. It is harder, though, to find a multifamily home than it is to find a single family home. But it is actually easier to buy a multifamily home than it is to buy a single family home.
Okay. So I had a question, but now you just caused another question to come up. Why is it easier? Because I wouldn't have thought that to acquire or qualify for a multi than a single.
Yeah, because of, like I said, the lender is going to take 6 times your W-2 and
Because they give you more money
they're going to
in
give
the
you more.
equation.
They're going to give you more money. And then on top of that, whereas this single family home buyer is going to have a mortgage, this multifamily real estate investor who's living in one unit, one of the 3 units, has no housing expense. They have no housing expense for the rest of their life off of one single move. This person's going to have a mortgage for the rest of their life, or for 30 years at least. And then they're, even after that mortgage is paid, they still have taxes, insurance, and maintenance. This person has bought a property that gets rid of their housing expense for the rest of their life. And if you literally just, let's say your housing expense is $1,000 a month. If you could get rid of that and invest that money at 6%, which you know is very conservative, and you do that for 30 years, $1,000 a month invested at 6% for 30 years would leave you with over $1 million. You would literally become a millionaire over the next 30 years off of this one thing. So real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. It is a get rich guaranteed system over time. And by real estate, I mean multifamily real estate.
Now, you talked about when the definition of multifamily is a 2-unit duplex, a 3-unit triplex, or a 4-unit quadro. I don't know what the heck to call it. Fourplex. Okay. Is one of those better than the other, or is it just a numbers game? Like, is a 4-unit better than 2-unit? Is a 3-unit the sweet spot? Like, if I'm out and about and shopping, does it matter if I get any of those? Do you rank them a certain way when you're hunting?
That's a great question. So typically you can't get to rent and mortgage freedom with a duplex, because while you're living in one side for free, the rents from the other side will not cover your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, capex, repairs, and vacancy rate. So you still may be paying some money out of pocket. Let's say you were paying $2,000 a month in rent, but you bought this duplex. Now you're only paying $500 out of your own pocket. So your cash flow has changed by $1,500, but still some money is coming out of your pocket because the rents from this other side do not cover all of that. But if you have a fourplex, there's a greater chance that the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, capex, repairs, and vacancy rate are going to be covered by the 3 additional rents that you're getting. But a fourplex in the hood may not be as valuable as a duplex or triplex in a nicer neighborhood. So the way we evaluate real estate deals, apples to apples, is through the cash on cash return. Okay. The cash on cash return is the monthly income that you generate from that property after. So that's rent minus principal, interest, taxes, insurance, capex, repairs, and vacancy rate. Whatever's left over, let's say it's $1,000 in cash flow per month times 12 months is $12,000. And let's say that your down payment, your closing costs, and any initial repairs, right, were $48,000. So 12,000 over 48,000 is 25%. That means that you're getting a 25% cash on cash return every single year off of your initial investment. Why is 25% significant? Because we know that the S&P 500 over the past 21 years has only yielded about a 4.76% average rate of return. This is the major stock market index. The stock market is volatile, right? People say that the stock market goes up by 10% every single year. It does not. The average rate of return on the S&P 500 over the past 21 years has only been 4.76%. So at a 25% cash on cash return, you're compounding money at a 5 times greater rate than somebody who's letting their money sit in the stock market where they actually absolutely have no control and there's a whole bunch of volatility. And so this is the number that we're looking for. The real name of the game is how hard do you make your money work? Many people work hard for money, but where they fail is in their second job, which is making money work hard for them. Okay. So we are investors already, whether we know it or not. But if you just work hard for money and you let it sit in the bank account, you're not doing a great job at being an investor, but you're doing a great job at being a worker. And if you don't make money while you sleep, you will never rest.
Nice. Now, what's your advice for people who aren't in a season of life, or their family makeup isn't conducive for them to be a live-in investor? So they want to invest, but they're not going to qualify for the type of loan that requires you to stay in it for 12 months for whatever reason. Maybe they live in a different place, or maybe they're demographically, it's not enough bedrooms for their family size, or it's not a neighborhood that they want to put their family in, but they still want to be investors in this multifamily game. Does your advice change a little bit, or is it the same model?
It does. It does. So, remember, FHA is a 1-year sacrifice. So I'll tell you who moved next to me next door in Brooklyn in Do or Die Bed-Stuy was an Asian family. But it wasn't just one Asian family. 2 Asian families moved into the owner's unit. 2 Asian families with 8 people. They did that for 2 years. And then one of them moved out because they bought a multifamily down the street. Other cultures are willing to make the sacrifice, but we want our space. We want our own room. We want this. And now you're paying rent of $1,500 over here. Your mom is paying rent of $1,500 over here. Your brother's paying rent of $1,500 over here. Y'all could have been bought a multifamily together, but instead you are all independently paying rent. You think that that's comfortable? You don't want to share a bedroom, but you happy paying $1,500 rent and $4,500 collectively amongst you, your mom, and your brother, right? What's more uncomfortable, sharing a room for 1 year or coughing up $18,000 to somebody that you'll never see again, right? So other people are willing to make the sacrifice. But if you're not willing to make the sacrifice, I can't live with my mom. No, I ain't doing all that. Then here's your option. Your option is to put 25% down. Okay. And in order to put 25% down, you're likely going to have to find a smaller, less expensive, non sexy market and invest from a distance. Investing from a distance is fine. I own in 5 cities. I only live in one, right? So the key principle to understand here is that your money does not have to work in the same city as you do. Your money does not have to work in the same city as you do. Some of you own Amazon stock. You've never been to Seattle. Some of you own Nike stock, never been to Oregon. What is that? Your money is working in a city that you don't work in. So the same thing applies for real estate investing.
Good stuff. Now, are you the type of investor that is, I don't know the proper terminology, but like some people handle all the business side of it, from screening tenants and interviewing tenants to taking maintenance calls? Or are you the type of investor that partners with a property manager? And what's your advice either way?
Yeah, a property management company. And a property manager, if you don't want to deal with tenants or anything like that, property management typically costs anywhere from 6 to 10% of rents. So if you have $4,000 a month in rents, that's going to be $240 to $400 a month that you're paying a property manager to handle everything. The only time you'll get a call is when you have to pay the plumber, right? Otherwise, they're handling it. If they get a 3 a.m. phone call from a tenant, they're the ones that's responsible. If the tenant locks himself out, they're the ones that are responsible. So if you really want it to be 100% passive, then the easiest way is going to get it to be to get a property manager, but that will cut into your cash flow.
Now, you've helped a whole lot of students over the years do and replicate what you have done. What are some of the differences between your students who made it happen and those who did not?
Yeah. So it comes down to consistency. That's really what it comes down to. There's what I call a deal funnel, and it's just a big triangle. And what I found is the people who evaluate and look at the most deals and run the numbers on the most deals are the ones that end up finding on the most listings are the ones who end up finding the most deals. So those who are evaluating deals daily versus those who evaluate 1 or 2 deals a week, the more deals that you evaluate, the more listings that you evaluate, the more deals that you ultimately find. And so it's really a numbers game. And the people who are consistent and keep showing up and don't get discouraged when they evaluated 20 listings and none of them ended up hitting the right number, those are the people who have the perseverance and end up winning. It's the people who declare that I'm going to close within this year. The people who declare that I'm not renewing my lease again, right? It's those people who end up closing as opposed to others who are still in their comfort zone. Like they like their apartment, they're downtown, they got a bellman, things of that. They're comfortable, and it doesn't get uncomfortable until rents get increased by $400, and now it's starting to get real uncomfortable, and that's when they start to take action. So I'm getting people out of their comfort zone and helping them see the urgency. We know that when interest rates rise, that actually makes investing harder, right? And makes the cost of that deal harder. So, really understanding that the urgency of this and that this asset class, this is a rare asset class, right? Multifamily homes, 2, 3 family, and 4 family only make up 18% of the rental supply. There's only 2.6 million of them. So when a deal comes on the market, you have to move quickly and aggressively if you're serious about becoming a multifamily real estate investor.
Wow. Okay. So I didn't know it was like that. I mean, obviously there's more single families than multifamilies out, but man, that is a stark difference when it comes to availability. Now, are you finding these just in the general places like the Trulias and the Realtor.coms of the world? Or is this again comes down to relationship with the right type of agent?
You were so right. My last 8 deals never hit a Trulia or Zillow or a Redfin. They were off-market deals. Off-market deals come through relationships with multiple real estate agents. I have 3 real estate agents in New Orleans. See, people think that you sign an agreement with one real estate agent, but what if that real estate agent only knows the south side of the city? Then you have no eyes looking at the north side, west side, or east side because that's their sweet spot. So I have 3 real estate agents in New Orleans, so I have full coverage, right? So multiple real estate agents, wholesalers, contractors, lenders, property owners, and letting your friends and family know that you're actually actively looking for a real estate deal. So even my little brother has sent me deals. One of his friends' uncle passed, his friend inherited the property, and I got to look at the deal first because my brother knew what I was looking for. I didn't end up moving on it, but that is an example of how an off-market deal came to me. Once those listings hit Trulia, Zillow, or Redfin, they get marked up by 30% because now more people are looking at it. Demand increases, right? And therefore price goes up. And so off-market deal is when a real estate agent has sold a property to somebody 5 years ago. That person is ready to bow out of the game, or they want to upgrade to a larger apartment complex. So they're willing to sell their fourplex. And before they put it on Trulia, Zillow, or Redfin, they say, hey, I actually know a buyer already. And they call you up. It hasn't hit any website. They call you up, say, hey, you want to come look at this property? I haven't even listed it yet, but I know who's selling it, and I can serve as dual agent. And that's how you get off-market deals coming to you. So I don't look on websites anymore. They come to me through actual human beings. Real estate is a relationship game. You have to be in contact with people, and you have to be, it's a contact sport. You have to be in contact with people. You have to be in contact with properties. And the more people and properties that you're in contact with, the greater the chance of you actually finding a deal.
And I think it's clear that Jullien knows what the heck he's talking about, guys. And he has an amazing course. If you go to hisandhermoney.com/multifamily, there's only so much we can squeeze in a podcast episode. He's given out major gems thus far, but he goes super, super deep and makes it super actionable for you through his course. Jullien, can you tell people a little bit more about what they'll find when they go to hisandhermoney.com/multifamily?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm going to actually invite you to a webinar, right, where I'll go into more detail. And if you like what you hear on the webinar, then you can consider joining. Now, with the multifamily movement, it's a 2-year program. I don't expect it to take you 2 years, but that's the amount of support that I'm willing to give you. And the reason why is because the only reason I made it 2 years is because if you are dealing with, I said, what is the worst condition that somebody can come to me in and I can still help them succeed? And that was bankruptcy. So Chapter 7, 11, or 13 bankruptcy requires 24 months after discharge to be able to get financed. So it should not take you 2 years to close on your first property. Most of my students close within 6 to 12 months on their first property. So not only do you get the multifamily master plan course where I literally download everything that I know about multifamily real estate into your mind as quickly as possible. We also have market meetups all over the country where you actually connect with other members. We have certified multifamily real estate agents who understand multifamily real estate investing, who know how to calculate cash on cash return, the 23 numbers that go into analyzing a deal, the 33 signs of gentrification, and they also know, they also have their own real estate Rolodexes. So I've trained these agents to be able to help you find multifamily real estate deals in your market. I'm also going to teach you how to use the purchase of past deal analyzer and the 23 numbers to evaluate any real estate deal to know if it's whether you should purchase or pass on that deal. And I'm going to support you through the journey until you get to the closing table. And so that's what I'm committed to. It's not about the transfer of information. I've been teaching online for over 3 years now, and it's not about the transfer of information. What it is about the transformation, and what gets people to transformation is actually the integration and implementation of the information. And so the multifamily movement is really an accountability structure to make sure that you implement and execute on the information. We meet every single week as a family. And when we meet, you get to jump into the hot seat and get coached by me live on whatever real estate issue you're having so that we can get you to that finish line faster and faster and faster. Your graduation is you getting to the closing table, right? I don't value my program based on how many students I have. I value it based on how many have closed. And to date, we've helped 435 people close on over $150 million worth of real estate. There's nobody in this country that has more documented success in terms of helping people close on multifamily real estate than myself and the multifamily movement. So I am literally the best at doing it, not only doing it, but also educating people on how to do it for themselves.
Come on, y'all know we only bring the best on the show. Stop playing, man. Go to hisandhermoney.com/multifamily so you can get in the game and you can make this wealth thing a reality for you as well. We only bring you the best. We don't bring anybody on here sketchy. We don't bring anybody on here who ain't got receipts. So you can trust Jullien. You can trust us as always. Look at our resume. We've been here for 8 years. We ain't never bought y'all nobody bogus. All right. So Jullien, before we close out, man, let's break that last mental hurdle for people. There may be 1 or 2 people who are still wondering, based on their situation and circumstances, if they have what it takes to be a successful multifamily investor. They're just not sure. Despite the examples that you've given, they're still thinking about certain things about them and their life and their set of challenges. And they're wondering, can they make this a reality too? What would you tell them if you had a chance to talk to them one-on-one?
Yeah, I would just tell them straight like this. You're already a multifamily real estate investor. You've been paying somebody else's mortgage for 5, 10, 15, 20 years now. You've been investing in real estate. You're just not getting any ownership or equity from it. You've been investing in real estate this entire time. And so now I just want you to be on the other side of the equation. You know the game works because you've been paying rent for so long. So you know the game works. So now I just want you to be on the other side where you actually own the property and are able to benefit from the cash flow, the appreciation, the tax savings, and the principal pay down. That's it.
Good stuff. There it is, straight like that. You're already investing in real estate, but now it's time for you to reap the rewards that investing in real estate can bring for the investor, the one that holds the deed and is issuing out the rent.
One last thing. This one gonna hurt, but I say this with love. I say this with love, everybody. If you are renting, you are homeless. If you are renting, you are technically homeless. You don't have a home. You're not on the title. You're not on the deed. You can call it my apartment. You can call it my house, but you're literally lying because you're not. You're not on the title. You're not on the deed. Now, you're not homeless like the homeless person who's sleeping on the bus bench. Okay. They've been through childhood abuse, right? Drug addiction, mental illness, no family, no friends, no money, no food, etc. Right? But you're over here and you're kind of comfortable. But guess what? You're still on the spectrum of homelessness. You're not on this end, but you're still on the spectrum of homelessness. And you've been working hard. You went to all these schools and got all this education. There's no reason that homeless man should own as many properties as you do, which is zero. There's no way to explain that with you going and getting all the education that you got and working for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And so it's time for you to get out and get something and stop playing small. It's time for you to actually own something on your own.
Boom. I ain't going to add nothing to it. Jullien, where can they find you on the internet if they want to keep up with you?
Yeah, they can go to getfreenow.com. That's getfreenow.com. You'll find information about my teachings. You'll also find all my social media handles, and you'll also be able to find out more about my book, Rich and Righteous, Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money, Manifestation, and Your Mind. Right now, in fact, we are doing a morning reading of this, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day. We're reading about 3 to 5 pages as a community on YouTube or Instagram. You can come and join that for absolutely free. You don't even have to buy the book to participate in that. But again, we have to till the soil of our mind first before we actually start taking action on the financial literacy. We need to first start with the financial spirituality, and that's what this book is really all about.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have links to everything that Jullien has mentioned in the show notes of this episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, just look right underneath the video in the description box and you'll find all the information there. If you're tuned in on the podcasting apps, then you can look in the show notes and you will find all the links and information there. Jullien, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're around the world buying real estate, to come and educate us today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the invite.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another fantastic edition of the His and Her Money Show is in the books. I told you, you're going to need to take notes. Hopefully you did. If you did not, go ahead, hit that rewind button, and let's get these notes jotted down, because he gave out game. Now it's time for you to apply. Go get his course. You can go to hisandhermoney.com/multifamily so you don't have to piecemeal this together. He can take you from start to finish so that you can make this a reality. And remember, we have education and information just like this over at our website, hisandhermoney.com. Until next time, guys, peace.